Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Friday Ramblings. I am your host with the most. I am the Bardic one, and we are here because it is our Valentine's Day episode, V-Day, the day of love. Lovey, dove. And in that mind, we're going to discuss something that is long overdue on this channel. We're going to discuss something that I have hinted around, discussed in brief references here and there in other videos, but it is time for the full-blown salute. Because when you are talking romance, hey, I'm the kind of guy who like things romantic comedy style. And if you're going to deal with rom-com, in my personal opinion, the manga community does it best. Japan has a lovingly tongue-in-cheek approach to rom-coms, and one of their most infamous subgenres is the harem series. Now, basically, the idea of this is that the story is not a simple matter of will the couple get together, or even will this one schmuck find true love, but in this case, it is almost always, although certainly there's bound to be rare examples where things are flipped, but generally one man and several women who all have positive lovey-dovey feelings for him to different levels, and thus the majority of the series is based around who will he end up with, if he ends up with anybody at all. Not just a simple, will they get together? And the harem animes and mangas also tend to have, because they are aimed at a younger audience, and usually male audience, bit of fan service. So, warning, you will see people in less than full state of dress if you dive into harem manga. The good news is, though, despite all that fun and games, it is often very deep stories with excellent character development and growth. And that is the main thing behind our selection. My personal favorite rom-com manga of all time. I am talking about Love, Hina. Love, Hina. So look at that. First cover art, and it's girls in swimsuits. I mean, that's just how it rolls. Excuse me. No disrespect meant there. Let me fix that. By Ken Akamatsu. Look at that. Look. Oh, let me get my finger where it needs to be. Awarded Best Manga in its 2002 USA release. And we're going to be talking about that in just a second more. But yes, folks, Love, Hina. So what's Love, Hina about? We're going to break that down with giving you a minimal amount of spoilers so that you can be encouraged to find the manga, because the manga is still in print today, folks. It is still available to find because it is excellent, and there is some other versions and ways you can approach the Love, Hina franchise. We're going to knock those out real quick before we focus on the manga, since that is the original source of this excellent storytelling. Love, Hina was first and foremost adapted into a 24-episode anime television series by Zybeck, a division of Production IG. Series aired on TV Tokyo April 19th through September 27th, 2000. There was also soundtracks based off the anime as well. And after the 24-episode television series was completed, a trilogy of OVAs was released. Now, what makes these OVAs interesting, as opposed to a lot of series that do OVAs, is that these OVAs were actually based on arcs from the manga, but told in a little bit more compressed format, whereas a lot of OVAs tend to be an original script idea. which is one of the big differences between the anime and the manga. Besides the fact that the anime did have a few original single episode plots sprinkled in there, as well as some other small differences, they, like a lot of anime does, Rama One Half being another excellent example, speaking of rom-coms, from the great Miss Rumiko Takahashi, who we have discussed before in past videos, and I'm sure we'll speak of again. But this is Ken Akamatsu's week. But the anime did do the manga, the arcs that were adapted from the manga in a different order, as well as making slight tweaks to them that commonly occurs during adaptations. So you can watch the manga, or you can watch the anime and read the manga. You're getting the same basic story, but there is enough differences it is worth going through both. Besides the anime and the related soundtracks we spoke of, 2 light novels have been written as side stories of the main series. They were released in May and December of 2001 originally, and have been officially translated in North America, and in fact, here they are. Oh, excuse me. Here they are. Love Hina the Novel, Volume 2, we got Bunny Girls. Love Hina the Novel, Volume 1, we got strings and bikinis. I told you folks, fan service, I'm sorry. Trying to keep this PG-13, but it is the nature of the beast. Still, now they call them light novels because, well, they're usually short for novel size, and they tend to be, as you can see here, larger print text. It's not super dense text like you get with stuff like Lord of the Rings and other high literature sources. So they are quick reads. Example of this. You get some. Try to find a good page here. There we go. You get some fun illustrations to go with it too. Just kind of give you a little. So they are, as I said, relatively quick reads. Great supplemental material. We've also seen several video games released across several platforms, such as the Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Advance, the Sega Dreamcast, and the Sony PlayStation 2. Most of these have never been released officially and commercially in North America, so if you do choose to hunt them down online, you may have to grab a translation patch with it, or you're just gonna have to muddle your way through unless you've learned to read Japanese. I know that's kind of technically, pedantically incorrect because there's 3 written Japanese languages, but because I don't read any of them, I don't know off the top of my head which one the video games would be written in. I'm going to assume, standard informal kanji, but I'm not making broad assumptions. I'm not going to guarantee which ones. It's just a thing. For simplicity's sake, we're saying read Japanese. But I do acknowledge there is technically 3 written Japanese languages. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let us get deep into the manga. Now, I do not just have Volume 1, I have the entire manga series. Here is 14. That's how you end a rom-com series, folks, with a wedding. Always end your rom-coms with a wedding. Because weddings are great. Everybody loves weddings, especially in the season of love. So let's break down real quick what Love Hina is all about. The main character of Love Hina is Keitaro Urashima, a young man who is simply put a loser in life. He doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. His grades are horrible. His entrance exams are horrible. He has no future. He has already failed to get into the University of Tokyo, aka Tokyo U, on multiple occasions, but insists on continuing to do so due to the fact that he made a promise to a girl when he was like teeny tiny, like kindergarten size. He doesn't even remember the girl's name, but he remembers the promise. Like a little pinky swear promise. Come on, the pinky promise is sacred. Do not violate the pinky promise. At least not willingly. So, finding himself at his wit's end and with parents who are rapidly losing patience with his inability to move forward in life now that he is an adult, Keitaro decides to trek the next town over to visit his grandmother, who owns a small single building hotel, along with his aunt Haruka, who runs the coffee shop next door. Figuring a change of scenery and hanging out with his always sympathetic grandmother would give him a little bit of mental refreshing and a renewal of determination to pursue his goals, even if his goal is extremely vague and based off a promise to a girl he cannot remember. When he arrives, he cannot find Grandma, and thanks to some rapid misunderstandings that highlight the predominant humor, which is prevalent throughout Japanese rom-coms, and the greatest American equivalent I can make to it would be kind of your sex comedies, like for your 80s fans, like a Porky's, for your more 90s, an American Pie type thing. That's the kind of humor we're dealing with. Mix that kind of sexual comedy in with kind of a pratfall physical comedy. Hey, watch this guy get humorously injured due to his own awkwardness and ineptitude kind of thing. Yeah, it's kind of like American Pie meets like a classic, Looney Tunes Tom and Jerry setup. It's pretty freaking hilarious. But anyway, as I was saying, due to a little bit of comedic lack of context, miscommunication, and misunderstandings, Keitaro finds himself beaten up and taken prisoner by a handful of females his age and a few years younger during the start of the series. Couple of the girls are still in their senior year of high school, and there's two who are even younger, as well as a few who are, like Keitaro, out of high school. Thinking he is a pervert and trespasser, it is quickly revealed to Keitaro that his grandmother, without informing him, had decided to convert her hotel into an all-girls dormitory. Whoopsie! No boys allowed. Haruka comes to the rescue, though, having heard the commotion from her coffee shop next door, and after verifying that he is in fact part of the family, and despite his inability to form a coherent sentence or prevent himself from seeing things he does not need to see when it comes to females he has just met, or is in the process of meeting, he is harmless. Things take another lovingly comedic twist when a fax arrives stating Grandma has gone on an extended vacation around the world and has appointed Keitaro the official landlord and manager of the Hinata dormitories. Hinata, love Hina. There's your title there for you. And there is your setup. Keitaro seeks to continue studying for his Tokyo U entrance exams while performing his duties as manager of the dormitory and getting to know the various female residents, mostly on a social-friendly level. Although, as I said, it is a rom-com, so there is a couple of them that do seem to be gaining a romantic-style interest in him. Things continue to get convoluted, though, as other characters are introduced, including a professor who has his own prepubescent daughter in tow, who serves as both a potential romantic foil for Keitaro due to quite literal schoolgirl crush from one of the residents. Shh, I'm not going to tell you which one. As well as serving in the place of a unintentional, not that great at it, but somehow still inspirational mentor. Which gets us into the meat of it. Trying to get as spoiler-free as possible, Love, Hina is at its core romantic comedy, but the story can be read on a much deeper level, in that at the beginning of it, everybody, although some hide it to better extent than others, has their own problems, dysfunctions, and hang-ups that are keeping them from achieving either their full potential or true happiness in life and acceptance of themselves as people. No matter what age any given resident is, and I'm even throwing on Haruka in this one. Ooh, she's got her own past. None of them are quite at the level of figuring out life that they would like to be. They all have issues they have to work their way through, and problems they have to face. And it is by leaning on each other that they not only resolve these problems and become better people by the end of the series, but in turn help Keitaro find himself. Yes, there's a lot of romance and you'll never get far from it, but, and this is the thing, this is ultimately why I adore this story so much, Keitaro flourishes in this environment. He's put in a situation that by all rights he should have quickly failed at. He has never been a property manager or a landlord or whatever your preferred terminology is in your particular part of the world before. He barely knows how to talk to females at the beginning. He's constantly flustered and awkward. He has never been a good student, and Tokyo U is one of the hardest universities in the nation of Japan to get into. And that is some real life paralleling there. It is considered an upper league prestigious school, the kind of place just by graduating from, you're pretty much guaranteed a job in your field. We have colleges like this in America, so I'm going to let you pick your favorite A-list university for comparison. And yet somehow, by the end of the series, and this is the only spoilers you're going to get, folks, he gets into Tokyo U. He becomes 100% comfortable interacting with females on both a friendly and romantic level, finds a girl he wants to sit there and spend his life with, and manages to help all the others through their own problems and work through their own hang-ups so that by the end of the series, everybody's in a better place. And this resonates with me. Let's be honest, folks. I've never shied away from this. I try not to get too personal and deep in these because it is all about the entertainment here at Roulette Productions. But, slight confession time. I'm no Bill Gates. You know? I don't have billions of dollars. I don't have the job that I've wanted since I was 5 years old. Hell, I never really figured that out perfectly. I'm still chasing my dreams. I'm still chasing my goals. And yes, I spent most of my life being incredibly socially awkward. But, just like Keitaro, at some point in my life, I hit a wall and I said, I can't be this guy anymore. And I know I'm not being the person I could be. I'm not living up to my potential. I'm not happy with myself. And I worked through it. I found good friends. I took a critical look at myself. I tried different things. And I found my niche. And it's still not perfect. I'm still on the journey. But I like myself a lot better than I did, 15 years ago. I went through that like Keitaro did. And that's why Keitaro, as a main protagonist, will always resonate with me, because I can remember feeling like he did in the early novel, or in the early trades of this manga series, where you think nothing you ever do goes right, you're never going to get the girl, you're never going to achieve your goals, you're just somebody who's destined to be beat up by life. But he works through it because of honest, true friendship. He finds people he can genuinely rely upon as friends to hold him up, tell him what he needs to hear, even if it sounds cruel and a little harsh at times. And because of that, hey, he becomes exactly who he was meant to be, and somebody he is happy to know. And that's the best part of it. You cheer for the romance, but then you go back and you read it again on that other level, and you're just happy for Keitaro that he's become comfortable with himself. He's found his place in the world. It's more than just a romance story. It is a coming-of-age story. It's, it works on so many different levels. So, before we sign off here, because really I can't idolize this manga and gush on it any more than I can without violating my own personal spoiler-free policies. But I cannot recommend this more to anybody. Track some copies down, read it in digital format if that's your style. If you can find the paperbacks, I think by now there's some omnibus editions out. Check those out. Check out the anime if you want. I think the manga reads a little stronger and has better pacing to it. But the anime is pretty solid and a great intro to it. I actually did start in the anime and then got into the manga. Real quick though, we're going to run down your core cast. Get my notes here to make sure I do not overlook anybody. Alright, so we talked about Keitaro Urashima. We also have and again, this is how things go at the start of the series. The series does cover a couple years, with an epilogue a few years later, so ages are going to change over the course of the series. Naru Sagawa, a 17-year-old, intelligent girl who has a little bit of a slight tomboy streak, as she focused herself so much on studies she never worried about being too girly girl. Despite that fact, she is popular and beautiful when she puts the books away due to her kind and caring personality. Matsumi Orihime is a sweet, gentle, 20-year-old girl who initially is not a resident, but later moves in to join the extended community and cast of characters. She is beyond airheaded as far as all things academia and potentially street smarts, but at times shows a surprisingly masterful ability to read people and sense the truth behind their words of denial. Meaning, she's a little bit dangerous because she knows what you don't want to admit. She may just coax it out of you one way or the other because she knows it's for your own good. Shinobu Mahara is a 13-year-old schoolgirl who is the most domesticated of all the residents. She is the best cook out of all of the residents and also seems to do quite well at keeping up with the housework and cleanliness of her own room. She's very shy and reserved. However, over the course of the series, she does learn to come out of her shell, stand up for herself, and show off her own personality, as opposed to simply being dragged along by others and their schemes as a unwitting and unwilling sidekick. Motoku Oyama is a 15-year-old schoolgirl who practices the martial arts of kendo, as well as being a member of a multi-generational sword school. She is your, in many ways, cliche, I have no time for basic teenage life. It is the sword and my studies. However, under the surface, there is yearnings for stuff that is not simply the blade, and her super serious, no-nonsense needed attitude often clashes with Keitaro's comedic bumbling. Kawalu Su is a 13-year-old foreign transfer student from the fictional island nation of Malmal, a nation located near the international date line. Her general appearance seems to take inspiration from the continent of India, and her super rambunctious, energetic personality tends to drive a lot of the extended shenanigans that involve the entire group, as well as serving a constant, bubbly, optimistic viewpoint of life. Mitsune Kano, affectionately referred to as Kitsune, referencing the trickster foxes of Japanese mythology, is a 19-year-old freelance writer who is frequently drunk and seems to enjoy teasing Keitaro on a regular basis. She's the one who is most likely to try to skip out on her rent and has been known to have a number of low-paying temp jobs when her freelance writing tends to dry up. Kitsune is the one most likely to scheme and manipulate, but it is always for the benefit of the other residents, specifically her good buddy, Naru, who she recognizes always needs a little bit of an emotional push to pursue what she really wants. We also have the aforementioned Aunt Haruka, who is the only child of Grandma Hinata's eldest daughter, Yoko. And after the death of Yoko, Hinata adopted Haruka and finished raising her. Now, as we said before, Auntie Haruka does not technically live in the dormitory. She owns a coffee shop next door. It's actually like down the road a little bit. The inn sits on a bit of a hill, so it's like the next lot down's kind of down an incline a little bit. But it's a thing. It's close enough. It's within shouting distance. And she has a small apartment on the second floor of the building. She appears regularly in the dormitory because, while she may be occasionally exacerbated by Keitaro and his fumbling and bumbling, she does deeply care for all her family, and recognizing that Grandma Hinata had her own secret reasons for appointing Keitaro manager, does her best to support him as well as the other girls. As I said, towards the end of the series, we find out Haruka's got some unresolved emotional issues of her own past that's holding her back from truly enjoying life. This is mostly illustrated by the fact that she is a chain smoker. We have Noriyasu Seta, the aforementioned professor, who is himself a Tokyo University graduate specializing in archaeology. More often than not, his work, when it is seen, is satirizing Indiana Jones and his often reckless adventuring style of archaeology. However, his outlook on life, fueled by the world experience archaeology has given him, helps Keitaro in many small ways, due to the fact that, hey, as a guy who's technically a graduate, technically has a job as a professor, he still broke it off his butt most of the time, and, you know, as such, tends to remind Keitaro that you can't find happiness simply in a well-paying job. You gotta look towards other sources of pleasure and satisfaction. And I don't mean anything crude by that. Simple pleasures in life, such as the 9-year-old Sarah McDougal, Seta's adopted daughter, whose mischievousness and occasionally wicked, prankish sense of humor makes her a wonderful eventual partner in crime to Koala-Su, and in turn, her own often clashing ideas of Japanese culture, as well as the worthiness of any of the residents to associate with her beloved Papa in any way, causes her to be an occasional antagonistic foil, though once you break through her tough exterior, she has just as much a heart of gold as anybody else. There's a few other characters, but we're not going to get into them because it's impossible without creating major plot spoilers, but that is your core cast. So with that, go out, read Love Hina, watch the anime, just please, heck, track down the light novels if you're not a big comic reader or anime watcher. You know? But give it a chance, because it's a great series with wonderful characters, a lot of personalities, and in its own comedic, occasionally twisted way, it's inspirational. So, enjoy your Valentine's Day. Find yourself somebody to spend time with, even if it's not purely romantical. Hey, enjoying the company of somebody else is good enough. God knows I spent plenty of Valentine's Day single. Still, love to everybody. Keep watching the channel. We'll have more ramblings, as well as all our other shows. So, make sure you subscribe to the Roulette Productions channel. Hit that notification button so you don't miss a video. And keep on keeping on, because the entertainment never stops. And as such, we will never continue helping you find new entertainment. We all need some fun in life. See you in 7.